Shalom, one of the self by giving all praise to Yahweh, Bashem, El Shah, Bashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the apostle, great most, and honors you brothers doing the work of the most and truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, of whom the world English calls God, Jehovah, Yahweh. His real name is Yahweh. His son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And we pray Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Burman in. Having burn Shum, meaning names Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai. Wanted to, build back up on this, this topic of, we scattered everywhere, man. And one of the precepts that I got in part 1, right, in 2 Corinthians, right, this is 2 Corinthians 2, 1 Corinthians 2, Slakia. Near the end, right, it says from 14, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. Right, the point there being he that is spiritual, right, when you're moving in the Spirit, right, you start to understand that, we are ultimately scattered amongst all these different heathen nations, right? That was part of the curse that was brought upon us, right? So Deuteronomy 28 and 64, right? It says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? So that was part of the curses, okay, that would basically be scattered among these heathens. And as we we touched on in another video recently, when you think about serving other gods in certain of these, if not all of these other religions, right, worship of these other gods, there are certain ritualistic acts that one does, right, whether it be sex acts, whether it be markings on the on the body or whatever, what have you, right? So then you think about how that then appears and looks over a period of time, right? How that individual will look, how they will carry themselves, right? You'll basically be looking and you'll be seeing a heathen, okay, right? But these times, the Spirit is that of us, right? And that's why once again we read Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, because there are certain things written, in the in the precepts, right, that as Israelites we just kind of do, right? Where is that Romans 2? Trying to remember how it's phrased. It's not Romans 1, is it? Let me see, because I know if I just type in law, I'm just gonna get a lot of results. I forget how it's phrased right now, but basically this idea of the fact that the law, right, is ultimately in us. So for instance, you go to the west coast, right, of so-called Africa, and you see how Jakes navigate there, how actually they'll be doing certain things, right, where they will be circumcising on the 8th day, right, and stuff like that. But why? It's because it is in them, okay. And there's several different aspects in certain parts of the world, right? You might be looking at a group of people and they'll be just doing something. So I'm just trying to look for that precept. It's kind of bugging me. Slug, if you just bear me 1 second. Yeah, it is Romans 2. This is Romans 2 and 14, right? So for when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves. So it is within them, okay? It is within them. And right now, right, this whole thing of Israelite foreigners, it's just a stumbling block, right, and a rock of offense to these individuals that just can't get it, man. As I was touching on in the other video, it's interesting because of the way the Lord has it. He's got some that says everyone can be, you get some that say everyone can be saved, and you get others that say actually no, not everyone can be saved. It's just these group of people that can, i.e., the so-called blacks, right? Just straight up John Shaft lookalikes, right? But the truth is actually somewhere in the middle. That yes, ultimately only Israel can be saved. That's it, right? And let's just jump onto that real quick. All right. So Psalms 147. Oh, I can't spell. Right, Psalms 147. Right, and in 19 it says, He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and for his judgments they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. Right, let's get a few precepts on this as well. Right, Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in Yahweh with an everlasting salvation. He shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Right, Acts 5:31. Right, him hath the Most High exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins. Right, and once again, that's the point. Right, the Lord is only dealing with Israel. Right, so that's the premise. Right, so when you're hearing about people getting salvation in the scriptures, right, those are Israelites. Right, we can grab Acts 1:6 as well. When they were therefore come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, will thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? Right, and then just to wrap it off, Romans 9:4, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption. In fact, let me read into it, verse 3, Romans 9:3. For I could wish that myself were accursed for Mashiach, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. So none of this spiritual Israelite stuff. Right, so who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises. Right, so the Lord is dealing with Israel and only Israel, right, and Israel through the flesh. Okay, through the lineage, right? We read Numbers 1 and 20, right, in the previous video. Right, so that's one point. So when you're reading about salvation, for Gentiles and this and the other, those are Israelites, right? You can grab this in 1 Corinthians 12:2, right? It says, and one says, now concerning the spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. You know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. Right, so that's the point. You were Gentiles, right? Let's just see what precepts that we get here. This is 1 Corinthians 6:11, right? It says, as were such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord Yahushua, right? In the spirit of our part, right? And when you read, into this, right, it's basically going into how Jake. Let me read it from 9. Right, 1 Corinthians 6. Now know you not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves of mankind, right, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Right, we're basically people that were, living in sin. Okay, people that were doing, things that according to our laws and customs weren't right. Right, same way in the heathens, when they were worshipping their gods, they were doing things that, according to our customs, weren't right. Right, so jump over this here, 1 Thessalonians 1:9. So for they themselves show us what manner of entering in we had unto you, and how you turned to the Most High from idols to serve the living and true power. Right, and the only person that's gone, as we read in those precepts, the only person that's gonna make that change is an Israelite. So regardless of how Jake looks, right, the Lord was gonna basically bring us back, right? So let's grab some of these. Isaiah 11:11 says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Paphos and from Cush, from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. Right, and when we carry on, that says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So from wherever it was that we were scattered, right, the Lord was gonna, basically, collect us, right. And you basically see all of these different nations wherein we were scattered, basically. Okay, we can carry on. Get Jeremiah 23:3, and I'll gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. Right? Ezekiel 28:25, thus saith the Lord power, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they are scattered, and shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, then shall they dwell in their land, right, that I have given to my servant Jacob. Right, so right now you got Israelites that be looking like everything, right? They've got the markings of the heathen there around about, right? They've got the dress sense, the style, everything. They do the things of the heathen that they're around about, look like them. But the Lord is going to wash them of that, same way that we needed washing from, the things that we were into before the Lord brought us in. Right? Baruch 4:36 and 37, O Jerusalem, look about thee toward the east, and behold the joy that cometh unto thee from the Most High. Lo, thy sons come, whom thou sentest away. Right? It was part of the punishment. They come gathered together from the east to the west by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the glory of the Most High. Right? And then we'll just grab, let's see what else we can just grab, close it off. Right, this is James 1:1. It says, James, a servant of the Most High, and of the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greeting, right? 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? And just because it's at the end, Revelation 7:9. And after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. Once again, this is the scattering of Israelites that are basically being brought back into the fold. Okay, so I just wanted to do the rest of this clip, right? We scattered everywhere, man, right? And those that aren't spiritual aren't going to get it, but neither was it for them to get it, right? And that's just part of the growth that comes along, which is just this idea of it is not for everyone, right? It's always everything. Till next time, say shalom.